To find out how long balloon garlands last and all my best tips and tricks for making them last as long as possible, keep watching. In this video, I'm going to answer the question, how long do balloon garlands last? I'm going to show you how to extend their life, how to know when it's time to call it quits, and how to refresh it and give it a few more weeks or months of life if you want to. A lot of people want to put up a balloon garland like the day or two before a party or event is going to happen, just because you have so much going on. Depending on how large scale it is, you might have a ton of other vendors on site, or if it's a DIY thing, you have so much to do as a one-man show. You have decor, food, all sorts of stuff to worry about, and sometimes balloon installations take a little bit when you're a DIYer or new to balloons. But there's no doubt that putting up a balloon garland ahead of time can be a huge lifesaver. So I'm going to give you my best do's and don'ts, because there are definitely times where it will not work to put it up ahead of time, and I'm going to give you all my tips and tricks that I use to make my installations last as long as possible when you want them to. So this installation is from the first video I ever did on the Bubbly Balloon Co. YouTube channel, which was my Easter balloon garland video, and it looked just like this, but I had two Easter themed foils that I've since taken down, and I'm going to show you a montage of its lifespan so far.
So we are at the 1 week mark since this creation, and I have to say it's holding together really freaking well. I don't think it looks different at all, aside from a little bit of deflation in this egg foil here, which you can easily blow back up again if you wanted to. So 1 week in, and we are doing great. So it's been almost 2 full weeks now since we put this up. The latex balloons are doing absolutely great. The egg foils here are looking a little sad, but I could reinflate those easily. But the latex are holding up like it's day one.
Okay, I want to take a quick second and film an update on this here Easter balloon installation. It actually looks really good in the top section here, and basically all the way down to about here. The latex balloons are doing actually fantastic. Just the foils are getting really sad, and as you can see, that's starting to pull the latex that it's attached to off with it. I did reinflate these foils maybe 2 weeks ago, and they still look okay. I did not reinflate this one that says Happy Easter down here, and that is very sad looking at this point. So if I were going to salvage it, I would probably reinflate that, and then I would attach it differently. I'd probably use a whole bunch of glue dots or maybe some duct tape to put it in up higher and more like on the garland rather than tying it to the garland, if that makes sense. But I have to tell you, for I think 7 weeks in at this point, this garland looks phenomenal. I have done 0 touch-ups, like I said, except for reinflating that balloon 2 weeks ago. So at this point, I think I am gonna touch up a little bit to it so that I can show you how it ages when you do care for it, and I'll show you how that looks. Okay, so after just making a couple of tweaks, honestly, I didn't reinflate anything. All I did was move a couple things around. I think it's looking so much better. I could definitely stand to reinflate the foils, both of them, and do a little bit of work here. But honestly, I just moved it around a little, kind of manipulated it, and got it to do what I wanted. So we are almost 7 weeks in, I think, from this build, and it still looks spectacular. I'm so happy with how this is aging. I'm really impressed with how well it's kept its shape over this time. It's still got all the curves that I put in, and you might have seen in the montage I did manipulate a little bit. I did kind of work with it and reshape it sometimes as needed, but it's had no problem holding that shape on its own, which makes me really happy. And pretty much the only signs that I'm seeing now are the slight deflation in a couple of these balloons here that are kind of making it kind of shrunk and shriveled, and then of course this puckering that comes with the 5-inch balloons, you know, shrinking as they deflate. I gotta be honest, you can easily refresh the garland at this point by cutting off all of the little clusters and the little quads here of the 5-inch balloons that are kind of sad and lackluster. and we could just make fresh ones and refresh this for the whole new season. We could do like watermelon colors, bring it to life for summer. Now, if you remember when I made this, I used 260s to tie on all of these extra little clusters. So it's very easy to trim them out of the garland. Like this just came off. These two clusters were attached to a 260 and that had been wrapped in the garland. So that's very easy to either pull out or snip out, and then we could go ahead and fill it in with new ones if we wanted to. This could still have a lot of life in it. I don't know if you can see this, I'm not sure how well the camera's picking it up, but these balloons here are looking a little bit sad. They've kind of flattened off at the top. Obviously the shine is kind of gone now. Now shine can be restored with a couple of different products out there, like High Shine. I can't think of the other brand name, but they're very easy to use sprays. You literally just spritz on and it restores the shine, and that works great. So if you're looking for that really bright shiny look, you don't like the oxidized look, that's a really easy way to breathe new life into a garland. So for me, the telltale sign of when a balloon garland is ending its life and it's kind of time to call it quits is when you start to see this puckering and especially like the deadening look that you get. They start to look dull and flat and that kind of thing. If they're just losing the shine, you can use something like High Shine, spritz it on, bring them back to life. But when they start changing shape and really just kind of looking lackluster, you can either take the whole thing down, or if you want to refresh it, obviously you can just go ahead and trim those out. And if it's just a single balloon that's looking weird, like maybe it'll be a random 11-inch, for instance, that starts to shrivel, maybe it wasn't tied right, maybe it was defective. You can just go ahead and give it a gentle cut and pop it, and then cut it down to the neck. And if you want to, reshape things, if you want to bring a little cluster or some, a little quad of minis in there to kind of cover that hole, you can. Sometimes it doesn't even need it. So these are the foils that were used on this garland, and in my opinion, foils last basically forever. If you don't mess up that the sticky seal on where it gets inflated, you can keep inflating these and keep them alive until the end of time. So if you want to kind of bring these back to life and refresh them after a couple of weeks or a month or two, however long it takes for them to start deflating, for me this was about 2 or 3 weeks, I think. All you have to do is stick a manual balloon pump or even a straw in there and just kind of give it a little bit of re-inflation. And you can sometimes do it when it's still attached to the garland, depending on how you've done it. If you have it stuck to the outside of the garland with balloon bond or something, then usually your valve is still accessible and it should be fairly easy to re-inflate it. For me, I had it tied in on this spot with a 260, so this was actually very hard to reach and access, which is one of the reasons I took it down in the end. But I have a hard time throwing out foils because to me, they're still useful. I can re-inflate this next year and it'll be great. But if the holiday's over, the season's over, but your garland could still last, you can take off the foils and just leave the latex and it'll be beautiful. But whether you're talking about foil designs, you're talking about the starburst balloons, orbs balloons, foils can last just forever and they're a great addition to a garland or an arch. Tips for getting the longest life out of your balloon garland. Number 1, keep it indoors. The sun is the direct enemy of balloons. I'm from Florida, I'm in Tennessee now, but anywhere I've done an outdoor balloon installation, it has been fried in seconds. The balloons oxidize in less than a minute. They lose that sheen. I actually really like the matte look. I think it looks kind of boho and chic, but they have a very short lifespan outside. So if you are doing a balloon install outdoors, especially during the day, do it as close to the event as possible, and I would always test first. I'll just take a cluster or something outside and let it go for a day or something and monitor it throughout the day to see how it lasts, because usually within a couple of hours, the installation is basically, Tip number 2 is use high quality balloons. There's some cheap kits on Amazon. You don't necessarily know the quality of what you're getting, and if you're just doing an indoor party for one day, go for it. 99 out of 100 times it's going to work out totally fine. But if you're trying to do something that's long lasting, if you're doing something for a season or at least a couple of weeks, use something really high quality. Qualitex is fantastic. All of the white balloons here were Qualitex, the pink balloons were Qualitex, the chrome gold I think was also Qualitex. I think the purple and this mint, I think were the only two that weren't Qualitex. And I never used this brand before. I didn't know what to expect. I'm really, really, really impressed with the purple performance. So I will have to include down below what brand it was. I'll have to find the bag and include that because I don't even remember. but I really liked how that turned out. I've had pretty good result also with Tough Decks indoors, but for me, Qualitex has always lasted the longest for sure, hands down. Most of my clients, when they text me like a few weeks later or even a month or more later and send me a picture of how great it's looking, those are the ones I use Qualitex on. So I know they can be more expensive, but if you're looking to get something to last a long time, I think it's super worth it. Tip number 3 to get your balloons to last as long as possible. When you're inflating and tying your balloons, and especially the small balloons, the 5 inches and when you make them even smaller, you want to tie that knot as tight as possible. You want to go as tight as you can on these small ones because they're so quick to lose the air. And as you can see, as we've been discussing, all of the points where it's not looking great is the small balloons. Now I did tie a lot of these small balloons very tightly. I think I even double tied some of them, but the smaller the balloon is, the tighter the knot has to be. That's one of the most helpful tips I've learned in this industry so far. And it definitely applies when you're trying to get your garland to last a long time. Now with all that said, there's obviously a lot that can be done to make your balloon garlands last longer, but I still have it in my agreement that I can't guarantee the lifespan of any of my work. There are just so many factors that go into the lifespan of a balloon garland, so I never guarantee that it's going to last any amount of time, not the party, not a week, not a month. There's always a chance that it could go bad. But when they're done indoors, they're kind of treated gently and kindly and left alone for the most part. And I get to use the balloons I want to use on the job, which is usually Qualitex, maybe Tough Decks, the higher end brands, that are gonna have this higher quality, more durable balloon. They usually last for weeks, if not months. And a lot of clients only want the balloon garland to last for an hour or 5 hours for the party, and then it's over, and they cut it up, and they kill it, they murder it! But if you're going for a long-lasting thing, whether it's in your own house, whether it's for a corporate client who wants a big install every few months, by taking care to put it inside, hopefully away from direct sunlight, hopefully away from people that might bump into it or try to play with it or pull it or anything like that, by using high-quality balloons, tying them super tightly, and then just checking on it every so often, refreshing it. If something's out of place, using the method that I use, you can just kind of finagle it, put it into a place where you want it, and keep it looking fresh. You can use a spray like High Shine to keep it looking shiny and fresh if that's the look you're going for. And like I said, when these start kind of withering on you, you can always trim them out and replace them with new 5-inch or other accent balloons. Anytime I get a new batch of balloons in for a party or an event, not when I'm ordering stock like Tough Decks and Qualitex and I know how it performs, but if I buy like a special kit on Amazon or Etsy or something like that, or a new brand of balloons I haven't really tried before, I always do like a test run for my own peace of mind. Like as soon as the balloons come in, preferably a week or more in advance of the party, I'll take out one of each color and I'll go ahead and blow them up, make a little cluster, and just leave it out for me to look at over the next few days and see how it ages. And 98% of the time, it ages okay over a couple days, and maybe after 3 days or 4 days, it really starts to kind of break down if it's not a really high quality one. So once I see how that kind of test run goes, then I feel comfortable knowing, okay, I can do this the night before or 2 days before and we'll be okay. But usually with these kind of like the lower quality ones, sometimes they do settle a little bit. So I might do the base garland a couple days early, but then I'll add those finishing touches in. I won't inflate, the small ones, the ones that are at risk of shrinking so quickly. I'll save those for the day of or maybe even the night before or something like that. So that's usually pretty safe, but doing that test run is gonna give you that peace of mind to know, okay, this is actually gonna work out okay. I can make this 2 days in advance and it's gonna look beautiful on the day of. I hope these tips were helpful. I hope I answered the question for you. How long do balloon garlands last? In a nutshell, could be a couple hours, could be a couple months, but with these tips and tricks that I shared with you, you can make your garland last for 2 months, 3 months. I think this thing could go for 6 months if I let it. Let me know what questions you have for me. What would you like to see from me in upcoming videos down in the comments below. If you liked the video, you know what to do. I'll see you in the next one.